can we create a situation, a life where that change works on a more sustainable long-term way?
Okay, so good evening once again, and thanks for joining another edition of Lean by Nature calls. And this is a space where we talk about how to bring about sustained improvement in our lives using lean management, continuous improvement tools and techniques. And we also talk about natural cycles of improvement. And we try to draw inspiration from both management principles and the natural cycles of improvement to bring about sustained improvement in our lives. And we have been in the space for last I guess more than five months now, and it's been a great journey so far. We have last few calls we have talked about six steps of natural cycles of improvement, which Elizabeth has been talking about really. And today we're going to talk about the last two steps in that whole cycle. So I'll take a few minutes to quickly recap what we've been talking about, and just to set the context, and then we'll get right into the last two stages. So over the last few calls, we've been talking about the observe and the envision phases, which are the first two phases where we start the improvement cycle. We don't get into the action straight away. We observe the environment and see where we are and try to envision our goal, our target, our end objective. And that's where it gets us started. And then we come to the connect and the act adapt stages, where we actually get into the actioning part. When we execute, we realize that the planning that we did may not be 100% perfect, but still we try to act, adapt, and align with the reality. I think that's what those steps talked about. And the last call, we talked about the strengthen and share and teach phases. And when we talk about strengthen, it's more about introspection, analysis. What else could we do better? What went well? What did not? And try to do the course correction, if you will. And then we are ready to share and teach, which is an essential step to get into the collaboration and share the learning with a wider set of people, so that we have a lot of synergy from the improvement effort. And that's what I understood from these natural cycles of improvement that Elizabeth has been talking about. And personally, from the lean management principles, I strongly connect this with the classic Deming cycle, which I think we've talked about in the previous calls also: the plan, do, check, and act. So the first two stages are really talking about the planning, and then you come into the execution, the do, and then you check whether what you did worked or what didn't work, and try to improve the process, and then you do the course correction, which is the act. So it's very naturally aligned with the lean management process improvement process as well. And the other improvement process that I can relate this natural improvements cycle is with the DMAC framework, which is used in Six Sigma process improvement methodology, where we talk about the define phase. D stands for define, and I think and the measures phase. M stands for measure. So this define and measure strongly correlate to the observe and the envision phases. So it's very naturally flowing into the DMAX cycle as well. And when you talk about the A analyze phase, it's more about the connect and adapt, the analyze, and then you talk about the improve, which is the strengthen, and then the control phase, which we're going to talk about today, hopefully, which is the integrate and the mentor phases. So I think it's all coming together very nicely. And before we get into the topic and I hand it over to Elizabeth, I have a quick check-in question, like every time, and we can choose to put the answers on the chat or speak up, whatever resonates with you. And the check-in question today is, what does improvement mean for you? And that's a check-in question. So let me just see if I can type that on the chat. What does improvement uh, mean to you? And that's the check-in question for today. What does improvement mean to you? Uh, what resonates in you when we talk about improvement? When do you really call an improvement? An improvement has happened. So I'll just wait for a few minutes to get your responses, and then I like to share mine as well, of course, once we have a few inputs. What does improvement mean to you?
Yeah, so for me, improvement, it means so many different things. It's about growth and feeling alive and really feeling good about myself. And it's also about really finding a flow where there's less and less energy that I need to put into something, and it grows more with less friction and less kind of stumbling blocks on the way. And so for me, improvement is a lot about um, not only growth but also removing all the things that are hindering growth, basically, so that everything else can flow. And because I think our growth is a natural thing that we all somehow grow and evolve, and the improvement part is more of the getting rid of all the things that are both inside of us and outside that are hindering our growth. So that's, I think, improvement for me. Oh, there's someone joining.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. How wonderful for you to have shared this. Whatever is hindering our growth, just getting rid of that, and that is what improvement means to you. Thank you. And for those who are joining, we are just doing a check-in right now, and the check-in question is right in the chat window. And what we're trying to just use this opportunity to check in is, what does improvement mean to you? And that's what we're talking about. So while you arrive in this call and take a few minutes to be with us, I'll request you to just put in on the chat whatever resonates within you on this question. What does improvement mean to you? And while you're doing that, I love to talk about what I think of improvement. I think for me, improvement is doing better than yesterday and then repeat. So it's as simple as that. It has to be an ongoing cycle, which is a never-ending process for sure. And there is one book, of course, where I always draw inspiration from, which is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and that's talks about the seventh habit, which is sharpening the saw, or keep on chiseling your statue. And that's what improvement means to me. It's an ongoing process, continuous process, small incremental improvements over yesterday, and then keep on doing that, find more and more inspiration to continue in the path. So that's what resonates in me when I talk about improvement. So we'll just give our participants maybe a minute or two to reflect upon this, and if something resonates within you, please put it on the chat. What does improvement mean to you? And we're just talking about lean by nature, uh, how we're trying to draw inspiration from lean management principles of continuous improvement and natural cycles of improvement to bring about sustained improvement in our lives. And that's what these calls are all about. So while we're waiting for responses on the chat from the participants, I'd probably hand it over to Elizabeth now to take it forward from here and help us walk through the last two steps of the natural cycles of improvement. So I'm going
Thank
to
you.
put, here you go.
Oh yeah, we already have some answers. Refining
Means
skills as often as possible. Yeah, that definitely
wonderful.
also resonates with me. And yeah, now I'm gonna just share real quick about the 8 steps that I kind of grew from the natural cycle. And if you look at that flower, it's kind of representing a wheel, or also the a cycle um, that can be reflected with the yearly cycle or the daily cycle, which is basically it's easiest to look at the spring and the summer and the fall and the winter, which is it kind of relates to the spring being in the east, which is now to your right, the observe and envision and connect phases, and then it goes to the south, to the bottom where there is the summer, and then in the west, in the left, to the left is more of the fall energies, and then in the north on the top it goes into the winter. So that kind of helps you to see the different stages as the qualities that we also have in a yearly cycle. And that same cycle also happens throughout the day, looking at all kinds of animals in nature. In the beginning, in the morning, there's the birds are singing their song and envisioning the day, and so in a way celebrating the day, and then going about their business, and in the evening coming back together. um, and yeah, so today we're talking about the integrate and mentor stages. um, and yeah, looking at that, it's wait a second. it's it's important to really honor that the integrate and mentor stage are sometimes a little um, forgotten in some other processes, I feel. Just like in our society nowadays, the winter is a phase of turning inwards and slowing down. And we just, in our society, since we have our houses and our warmth, we seem to ignore the phases that are kind of slowing down more, where it's more of a reflective stage. So I want to really emphasize how important it is to also have those. And one of them, the first that I'm going to talk about today, is the integration phase. And that's a lot about creating an environment that um, that actually supports the change that we implemented the last few stages, so that we don't need to put all that energy into it again or anymore. It's like we strengthened, we checked, okay, what works, what do we need to improve, what kind of changes do we need to implement. We checked how could that work, and learned a lot about it and shared about it. Okay, that's how we can actually do it. And now in the integration phase, it's a lot about um, so how can we set our environment in a way that it's it's really stabilized, and it's working. Basically, it can be a culture change, it can be in an actual, like, restructuring of a building, or um, changing the way or where you live or where you work, or anything basically. It's, for example, if we want to do more exercise, I think I mentioned that before, I'm not sure, we can just kind of decide, okay, we don't have a car anymore, we have to bike everywhere, we don't use a public transport, so that's in a way a restructuring where we sell our cars and then we need to bike everywhere. That's a change in the environment. If we first test it out, okay, that's working and that's really helpful, and then that's making an impact, then we can change the environment that way. And yeah, that also shows then, okay, can we create a situation, a life, where that actually that change works on a more sustainable long-term um, way, because we can't just like creating patterns. When we learn to drive, we first need to watch about everything, and we need to do this and this and this, and we barely can watch the road in the beginning because we're learning so much and have to focus on all the different aspects. And then over time we create patterns, and it's kind of an internal environment that we create, that okay, I need to do this and this, and then I can actually focus on the road and on the other things. And that's similar in a way, that we need to create those patterns, and that it gets more of a routine thing. And for example, in the wilderness training that I did, um, the environment was already there in a way. So, for example, we needed to go to the lake to drink, which was, I don't know, 10 minutes away walking. So we needed to walk every day there a few times, and that's kind of an environment that supports the strengthening of movement. And yeah, so that was really supportive in a way, and that we just, there was so many different areas. But if we have an environment that supports that change, that's actually saying, yeah, it's great that you're doing this, and people supporting you, and you just feel good about doing it, then it's helping you sustain it long term. And yeah, that's the main thing about the integration, really seeing, okay, how can we do that long term, and as well see, okay, is that really working for me? Is that whole thing that I imagined really working for me long term? And not just for me, but also for others. So it's in the integration phase, it's also about already seeing, okay, how does that work, not just for me or for my team or for my organization, but in a bigger picture as well. How does it kind of connect with all the other things that are happening? um, and in that phase, in the integration phase, we can also make it more of our own thing. It's kind of, when you learn something new, first you have like a recipe. When you learn to cook, you have the fixed recipe, and you learn, okay, I need to do this and this and this, and then you do it a few times, and you know, okay, that's how I need to prepare everything. And everybody cooks differently. So for one, I, for example, like to just do it randomly and not prepare everything. Someone else wants to have everything weighed before they even start, and they want the herbs in that area of the kitchen, and the other things on the other. Like, it's something that we notice, that's how we want to do it, and that's how it works for us. So yeah, that's kind of how we can make it our own, and more yeah, connected to our personal best as well, how we work best. So that's the integration phase. And also, like, looking at nature, it's that part where first we had the harvest in the sharing phase, and now we're preparing for winter. So it's more of a, okay, well, how can we, for example, a tree builds the bark in the fall where they're preparing for winter, to kind of put a lot of energy in the bark so that it's more protected in the winter, um, drawing the energies back. And if there's a bark there, if there's some strength there in the tree for the winter, then there's more possibility of survival through that more um, harsh times maybe. And also the animals, they're eating a lot during the fall times, so that they're prepared well for what's coming, and so that they can put their energy into the survival thing, into other things, because then they're strong enough and grown enough to face new things, to go to the next level, so to speak. Yeah, so that's all that I have on the integration phase. And the last thing that's also really important is the mentoring. So we did prepare everything for winter. And as humans, we I don't know, make sure that all the things that could get damaged, like the machines or other things, are well in their shelters and other things. And we're mostly, when you look at farmers or other things, it's still visible for humans. And um, we did all of that, the preparing for winter. And in the mentoring stage, we now see, okay, did that all work? Basically, we're finally, we did all of the changes and strengthening and sharing and making sure that all of that change um, is working. And now it's the testing, the letting go, the seeing, okay, I did everything I could. Now I need to look at, did the system work? um, was it enough for the whole system to continue into the next cycle, continue on long term? And so for our work, for processes, for maybe our teams, it's the mentoring stage is really stepping back and from active work and really becoming that elder, in a way that you're only here if there are some really hard questions. It's, you're basically the next generation has taken over, they're doing it, and you're just here as a backup, in a way, and really seeing, does it work without you, or without putting that energy into it. For example, if there's a new process, you just watch, oh, okay, does it work without me having to watch over it all the time? That's also the mentoring, in a way. Um, and if it's really about, okay, well, I, for example, built my business and I'm about to retire, and I need to make sure that it continues without me. Um, so that's the main thing about the mentoring stage. And it's also about really going into service, doing something for others. So we built all of that, and it has a reason. We didn't just do something to earn money and then we just let it drop because we don't care about it anymore. Sometimes that happens, but if we want to do something that's sustainable, that's more meaningful, then there's always the service to others in mind. So even if it's personal growth, like we want to improve our health or get fitter or whatever, it's still in that stage where we really manage to get to that point. We improve, we feel like it's a stable growth and improvement, then we can really be of service to others. It's not only the teaching where we say, yeah, okay, we tested something out and that's how what we learned and stuff, but we really integrated it and we just can go into that mentoring, into that, that's how we can help others to achieve that as well. So that's really a lot deeper, a lot more of a really knowing something, not just, okay, I learned, I have a lecture and I learned it theoretically, but I lived through it. I learned it. I really know it deep within my whole body, and I can just kind of be a representation as a whole, for that change, for that different thing, and that's also, it's really important to see, okay, who are the people who really reach that point that I want to reach, and get inspired. And in that stage, it's a lot less actively doing something and more about just being that, that living that, whatever you manage to do or improve, and you just kind of do it and sit back and relax and be there for whoever wants to approach you. And yeah, I think that's basically all I have on that. And yeah, just a short impulse to the mentoring stage. That you really need to feel into it. And I can't really talk about it. It's just kind of going into, when was that, for example, when you learned something, where you improved some aspect, where, I don't know, created a new habit, where at some point you realize, okay, wow, those are all the different layers of things that actually played within it. And then you can, yeah, share the deeper knowledge of not just, okay, I did it once or I did it twice and maybe it was a fluke or maybe not, but you really know. So yeah, I'm giving it over to you, Aman, if you have any good inputs on how that relates to the other frameworks like the lean thinking, lean process.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Wonderful. And as you were talking through these last two stages, my God, they integrate. And I could really feel when you said it's the most important and most left out phase. I can relate to that very well, because if we don't integrate the environment with the new change that we are bringing, it is very easy for us to lose all the improvements, because the system is so big that it will just engulf you again. And And I have definitely a couple of thoughts around this, not necessarily from the lean management principles, but from experiencing the process improvement perspective in our day-to-day lives or the personal life, the changes that we want to bring forth. Uh, there will always be an inertia which is going to pull us back. You know, the system comprises of a lot of things. You know, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be workplace. They are all used to a certain you know, how you are actually behaving or conducting yourself. And when you are trying to get out of that and try to improve upon some aspect, that system is not like letting willing to let you go that easily. They're so used to you being what you are, and they will try to bring you back. And that's where this integrate aspect, where you have to just cling on to those positive aspects that you have real experience within yourself, and just not let those systems engulf you again. And that's when, you know, you will probably get out of that gravity, let's say, and, you know, just escape. It's called escape velocity. So then you escape the gravity, and that's important. That integrate phase, I feel, will help us through that. And that has been, and frankly, in my own personal journey, I am in that stage right now, where I'm every day trying to create an environment where I don't get back to the old routine. And you know, I have like new spaces created and new environment, and, you know, everything that I've been striving for. So I feel so I can relate so much to this integrity, the integrate phase. And while I'm talking, I'd also encourage the participants, if you have, of course, any thoughts or afterthoughts about what Elizabeth shared about the last two stages, please put it on the chat. You know, while I'm sharing my whatever resonates in me. And the last stage, when you talked about the mentor, which is just sit back and allow things. It's kind of a delegation phase. If you talk about a management perspective, it's a delegation. And there was somebody who I met. He said the mantra today for success is delegate or die. In management, in business context, he says delegate and or die. And he's a successful entrepreneur. And I asked him, how does he manage all that? And he says, I just don't do anything, I just delegate. So I can relate the mentor phase to that, you know, just allowing things to happen, um, in terms of, and be available for any support, and try to do that service, that meaningful service, which is the higher purpose. I'm calling it a higher purpose in life. So the other day I was in a seminar with students of class 10, and I was talking about career, you know, counseling and career aspects. And one of the students said, my purpose in life is to make money. That's it, no matter how it comes. So, you know, these are young blood talking about, and then we have to tell them that you have to have a higher purpose in your life, and money will come. It's like a byproduct. So I can very well relate these two last phases, the integrate and the mentor, creating the right environment. And if you really talk about the management aspects, it is more about the consolidation or the control phase, where we redefine the standard operating procedures, redefine the work instructions, reconduct the training on how it has to be done. And that is the control phase in the process improvement, which ties into the integrate. So I think those are some of my thoughts. I don't want to stretch too much, but if the participants have any afterthought on these, I don't have any questions. But yes, I'm trying to bring some change in my life, and instead, inertia pulls you back. So currently trying to break that cycle. My dear friend, you are just on the right track. I can tell you, because as I said, people are so used to us being the way we are, they won't let you go so easily. So you have to create a new environment who are conducive to that change. And you have to learn to say no. You have to break old patterns. Elizabeth, the word that you mentioned, I love that word, pattern. So you have to break those old patterns. And yeah, so thank you for sharing that. So trying to break that cycle, very important. You have to be on this journey alone, but I'm happy that we have this space finally. We all are in the same space. You know, we are trying to improve upon those aspects in our life and trying to do it in a structured way, trying to get inspiration from natural cycles of improvement and the lean management principles. And that is the purpose the single purpose is to break away from the old patterns and get into the new patterns, rediscover ourselves, and into this continuous improvement journey. So thank you. Yeah. So Elizabeth, you have any afterthoughts or stories that are now coming to you?
Yes, actually, there is one short story. It's about my whole journey of going running. Running has been a really interesting topic for me over the last almost 2 years now. Um, Before that, I didn't want to do it at all, and what I'm learning currently is I'm looking for ways to make it exciting and not so much about focusing on the actual physical running, but seeing different things. So for example, going to different areas that I can explore, where I can actually focus on the environment. Or I can, in the beginning it was easy because the focus was on, okay, I want to get further and want to run longer distances. And now if I can't go away and have new areas to explore, I at least have, okay, I want to get faster. And always have something that excites you, that helps you stick with that, and create that environment in that way where yeah, you have a different, like a higher purpose in a way to actually do it, and not focus so much on, okay, I need to do this again, but focus on the why, and and the creating of the environment. That's really what's gonna help keep that process going. And a lot of people say it takes 21 days or 30 days to create a pattern, and I think it is important to have that, but it sometimes it takes a lot longer, because I've been doing it now for a year, and sometimes it's still really hard. And so it always depends on how strong that other old pattern was before you can find a new one. That's what I can share.
So thank you, Elizabeth. And I know we are at the top of the hour, so why don't you just take a moment to talk about the next call, I think, and then that's going to be
Mhm.
the last call in this series, and then we're going to have next set of calls. So maybe you can share something about that. Thank you.
Yeah, so now first you shared all the process, the different steps in the lean process, and I shared my natural cycle steps. And in the next call, we're gonna kind of reflect on how those can help each other, and how we can actually find something that works, and what we learned from that, all the different sharing of the phases, and really reflecting on what's the core, the essence of improvement, and how can we make it more sustainable in all areas. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And also, like a short sneak peek, we're working on a program that's actually gonna help everybody improve, whatever they want to improve in their lives at the moment, and really going the more sustainable way and not just getting a short fix, but going through the whole cycle. Um, but we're gonna talk about that more in our next call, and give you more info on that. And for now, I'm just really excited that we explored that together, and excited to for our next call to see, okay, what did we actually learn? How can we improve our own process in that way, and going through that same thing with everything we do. Yeah. So if there's no other comments or things to add from you, Aman, I just want to say thank you for joining and or watching the video later on. And I'm looking forward to exploring that whole improvement thing a lot more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we got a thumbs up as well from participants. So thank you for your valuable inputs. Means a lot to us that things are resonating, and we are encouraged by this positive response. So make sure if you can join us next time as well. It's on 8th of April, and then we're going to see you. Hopefully, we're going to see you again. Until then, take care then. Bye bye.